and welcome to Chaotic Joy. I am your host, Barbie Cristofaro. I'm a licensed master social worker, and I am the founder of Ends to Meet. It's an agency servicing people in need. It's through my work that I found kindness in all places. I've seen families rebuild and communities really stepping up. This reminds me that humanity is still alive. Chaotic Joy wants to celebrate the people behind the scenes. It wants to honor joy and bring forth those people and their stories, however messy, however real, and however beautiful. They frame our lives. So you are at the right place, and I am here with the right person. Please help me welcome my good friend, Charon Smalls.
Thank you, Barbie, so much for the warm introduction, not only to your show, but also to your presence, to be a part of your show. Chaotic Joy, I'm very thankful that either separately or together, those words you thought of me. And it's truly a pleasure to be here to speak more to your vision, to your project, and to the joy that we all strive to share.
Absolutely. Thank you for saying yes. I know the name must have confused you a little, but I also think that you would understand it as a social worker yourself. We know that sometimes balance is all you have, right. And whether it's chaotic or not, we're going to find a way through it. So I appreciate you back. Charon, I wanted to invite you to the show because I know you and I know the work that you do in the community above and beyond being a school social worker. But you do a lot for the community, and I know you do a lot in your church as well. And I know that you have helped my agency, Ends to Meet, and I know that you have gone out there and helped feed the hungry. You do a lot of that work. And I think it's important for people to be recognized for those things, even though I know you're not the type of guy to ask for that attention. But I want to start highlighting people who are doing really good in this world because we have so much negativity sometimes around us. And I think that honoring joy is a way to validate the people behind the word. So with that being said, I wonder, what inspires you to spread joy in your own Charon Smalls way?
It's just kind of who I am. I'm sometimes very unserious. I like to smile. I like to laugh. I like to, be comical. Even sometimes when comedy is not, always appropriate, but it's just who I am, and I welcome people into that space and to be silly with me and to smile with me and to, I don't want to say look on the bright side, for lack of a better cliche, but, to always have some reason to smile, whether it's via a small interaction with folks, or something more monumental that's happening in their lives. So I'm inspired just by the opportunity to be myself and inviting other people to share that with me.
And I know how I feel when I'm in your space, and I always felt welcomed, and you have one of those infectious smiles where people just want to smile with you. And it's genuine and it's really real. And despite the fact that we have our own struggles and our own challenges sometimes, you show up and you never let that show. And that takes a real gift at balancing the challenges and the barriers that life has. How do you personally experience it yourself, especially in uncertain times?
There are a number of ways. I think, for one, the very first thing is always giving myself permission to experience joy. And what I mean by that is, as a social worker, we're kind of always dialed in. We're naturally kind of always pointed into political and social and personal danger. So we're always looking, by the nature of our profession, we're called to look for problems and to be able to speak to it and really lend ethical, informed, solid advice or advocacy towards those problems. In that, though, however, when you're always looking for problems, oftentimes, you know, if you're not careful, you'd be really consumed by it. Or you might feel guilty for being happy or having a good time, you know. So I think the first step for me, and I would encourage for everyone, is to, you know, make sure that you're giving yourself permission that even in the darkest times and in the most serious moments and dealing with the most serious matters, saying, you know, it's okay for me to smile. It's okay for me to dial back. It's okay for me to be, have some lighthearted moments, even if it's just with myself, to be able to not be consumed by everything that's happening around. I think there's also a piece about, you know, again, to the same point, staying informed, but not being consumed by all the information. So staying abreast on everything that's happening while not staying so plugged in that you lose yourself in that. And then that just becomes your identity, is, you know, all the problems, you know, that you become the problem solver, or you become the champion of other people's lives, but not your own. So being able to delineate and, you know, paint some boundaries with yourself and then say, you know what, sometimes I might have to unplug. Sometimes I might not be able to watch the news. Sometimes I might not be able to have this conversation with someone who is looking for X, Y, and Z out of me. And, you know, always kind of having that self-reflection of my own cup. How empty is my cup? You know, is it dry? Are there cobwebs? You know, are there a couple drops left? Can I squeeze a few for you? And if not, being able to be aware enough to refill that cup.
When you refill your cup, when you think about that, who do you think about that gives you that strength? Is it a person? Is it an organization? Is it a family? Is it a belief system? What brings you strength personally?
It works well for me because I get it from a lot of different sources. First of all, starting with self, and as I've gotten older, learning how to refill my own cup and not put that weight or that responsibility on others to pour into me. And even if that's me taking a moment to myself, if that's me listening to the music I like, you know, watching the shows that I like, you know, and, you know, binge watching and unapologetically, you know, vegging out on the couch, or taking a nap, getting fresh air, going for a walk, all those things. In terms of the people in my life, first and foremost, my family, and I have a wonderful, amazing wife, Dr. Samantha Smalls, and being able to connect with her, you know, and then my kids, my 23-year-old son Isaiah, then my 10-year-old daughter Nia, you know, they in subtle ways and not so subtle ways kind of remind me, you know, to stay connected and to embrace joy, and to share some of that obviously with them as we share with each other. In addition, outside my household, I have a wonderful work team. The work is very, very challenging, and I tell them regularly that if it had not been for them, then I would not be in my position for the amount of time that I have been. It's very important in challenging times to surround yourself with teams who we might not have all the solutions separately or even together, but we know we have each other's back. You know, so when you're in the trenches, as insurmountable as the challenges may be, at least you know that you have, you know, warm shoulder to shoulder with somebody. My fraternity brothers, Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, Beta Sigma Lambda chapter, and the Brotherhood globally, I'm constantly inspired by those men, by not only the brotherhood that we share, but the monumental work that we're doing all in our respective communities and with our families, and always, again, a group, an organization that for 120 plus years we have sought the problems, you know, in the world, and we've tackled those things head on as it pertains not only to our communities, but really communities worldwide. In our own Hartford community, whether that's in politics and healthcare and housing, food insecurity, and all the things. And at the very least, making sure that men, black men and brown men are taken care of, and they have opportunities not only to have their voices heard, but their voices to be leveraged for the betterment of their communities. My church family, my Christian brothers and sisters in the faith that we share, always that anchor of peace and of joy, and not so much the I believe now that a brand of Christianity that's not just simply about prayer, but purposeful prayer, intentional work in the community, to truly reflect the values of Christianity and how we not only support one another unconditionally, regardless of who we are and what we're experiencing, but we're very intentional about the mission of Christ, which is to help the downtrodden, to receive the immigrant, to feed the poor, to heal the sick, and to do all those things. And without that, we are truly an empty faith. So I stick close and dear to those who experience and pursue the faith in that fashion. I named a bunch of folks, and last but not least, folks like you who are doing really, really meaningful work, really practical work, really impactful work for those that they serve. I am always in awe of folks who are solving problems that I don't either have the bandwidth or the ability or the vision to solve in the way that they're doing it, in a genuine way, in an inviting way, in a way that causes other people to experience joy at the really root level of their problems being solved. Ends to Me is one of those organizations, and folks like you, Barbie, who do that work, give me joy. So I like I said, I pull joy from a lot of different places, and I'm always looking for reasons to smile and people to help me smile.
Thank you so much. This show is not about me.
but I see you, so here we are.
Thank you so much. Charon, what is waiting for you at the end of the day? Like, what is your reward after giving so much to everyone else? And now it's your turn. You're done with work. You're on your way home. What's in it for you?
So at the end of the day, my goal, once I make it through the day, and the best part, a part of the best part of my day is my daughter. We go into school together and we come home together. So as we're going to school, I'm chatting with her, and at the end of the day, I'm asking her how her day was. Then we go home. She goes in, she changes her clothes literally in 90 seconds. I find the long couch in the living room. I usually open the door to the deck, allow the fresh air to hit me, and I find myself lately putting on light jazz. And I'll say, Alexa, throw on light jazz, and I will ball up on the couch. And I just take a good 15, 20 minutes to do nothing, to rest my eyes, to kind of decompress. And I think decompression probably sums it up. I look forward to coming home and kind of flushing myself of everything that I experienced that day.
I love it. I love it. It sounds really relaxing, and it's just a moment for yourself. And I don't know if it's our age group, but I love jazz too.
Yeah, and I'm not a super jazz connoisseur. Just really just to have the instruments, not words, and when the instruments kind of help the mind re-regulate without the words, because the words make you process and think and then listen in a different kind of way. I don't want that. I just need the background noise, the breeze, maybe a few birds chirping, all the magical things. And if it's raining, even better. If there's rain in the background,
So long as it's not on rush hour traffic, I'm fine with that.
Exactly.
But yeah, no, you're right about that, with the words. And I actually said that to a friend of mine not too long ago, that on my commute home, I listen to jazz because it has no words, because we are just inundated with words all day long. And I want to begin the process of that decompression when I get home. Like my whole goal is to be home, to be with the people I know accept me and love me as I am. And that is my joy. And I get to experience that, and I know what it's like to not experience it. So to have it is truly a gift for me. And so I just want to run there, even if we do nothing, and just make dinner and maybe watch an old Seinfeld show on repeat. But that's joy for me, and then we do it again the next day. I am very honored to work with people like yourself, live and work with people like you. We both went to UConn together. We graduated from there, and we both are in education, and we're both social workers, and we're both doing so much. But I wonder, with all that we do and all that we give, who are the people that you think are not receiving some of that joy or some of that help? You mentioned your church is very focused on the actions of doing good, like for immigrants and feeding the poor. If you can think of all the work that you do and all the many other people that are still out there not receiving, right? And sometimes, I want to bring light to this actually, we're talking about the middle class, because they too may be in a struggle. They too may just not qualify for certain programs. And so as a social worker, we try to look at everyone, and I know we can't be there for everyone. But do you have any thoughts on what other folks may be in need but are not being seen, heard, or felt enough?
That's a really interesting question. Where are the gaps in experiencing joy? I think that changes from day to day. I'm going to start first with children. I think some of the challenges that we're seeing in schools with young people is because they aren't experiencing joy the way young people should experience joy. There was a time when, as a child, you were very carefree, very nonchalant. Your biggest worry perhaps might have been, if you guys were still having recess or not. So something as minute as that, whereas it was the adults who worried about bills and taxes and grown people problems. I feel like some of the issues and the anxiety and some of the other things that children are presenting with are grown folks' problems. They are taking on the weight of the world when they can't even spell the word taxes. They could barely tie their shoes. It just seems like they carry around such a heaviness. And then, when we in the profession, in the classroom, when we interact with them, it's like, why are you so angry? Like, what are you so mad about? The teachers asked you to write your name on the paper. Can we get there first? But and I get it. Like, I think that's part of it. I think another unseen group, perhaps. I still do work with domestic violence, intimate partner violence. And there is a lot of conversation around, again, going back to children, adolescents and teens experiencing dating violence. And the question is always, how do they get from point A to point B? How did they even enter in such a relationship? And on the other side of it, for those who are perpetrators of domestic violence and intimate partner violence, how did you get to become so rotten at such an early age? How did you get to become where the norm for you is to cause harm to as your version of love or as your version of partnership? I think perhaps unseen or unheard might not be the word, but the experience of joy is lacking there. And how to pursue joy. Maybe a more poignant question is, how is it that we are presenting folks on how to pursue joy, in a healthy, more appropriate way? What is actual joy? And why is it that maybe causing harm or committing acts that as a norm, as a society, we used to view as unsavory or a little bit more salacious years ago? How is it that it's become normalized now in the way how you interact with people? So I'm not sure if that answers your question, but I think in how we think about even people pursuing joy and seeing joy, experiencing joy, and sharing joy, we need to start asking those hard questions about the interactions that we see socially.
Well, I thank you for that feedback, and the question is to provoke us to think more about those quieter areas that we have normalized in society. Just as you so well put together, the joy factor in our children, is it really there? Is it diminishing? Are there other distractions getting in the way of joy, such as social media, right? And it's everywhere. It's, you see even toddlers with tablets, and some of that stuff is educational, sure. But how many hours are we logging in? And so joy does present present itself in many different ways. But you are so right about mentioning children who may have already experienced domestic violence at home, and maybe that's a barrier and that's a challenge in and of itself that, sometimes adults can't explain, let alone a child. And that child, we forget, becomes a teenager. And you're going to have some risky behaviors at times, and if those are not seen, or I shouldn't say seen, because you and I see that in our work, but if they're not treated, then they can become the adult who's either the victim or the perpetrator. And you and I also share that in common with intimate partner violence and domestic violence. And I know our hearts are to advocate against that with all we have. And we've done, I think, some good work behind it. I know you certainly have at your school level. And I've always been so proud to see you promoting that and creating that awareness to your little students, because it starts there, to let them know that you're safe, that you deserve to feel safe, that you deserve to feel loved and heard and valued, so that they can become the role model that you show up for every day, because that's what you do for them. So there are a lot of barriers, and I think we covered a lot of ground and a lot of different topics as far as, all the areas that we try to touch upon. And certainly, we have our own challenges sometimes, I mean, how many directions can you get pulled into and carve that time out for enrichment, right? Which I'm super excited about for you. Do you want to share some more about your doctorate work?
Sure. So I am getting my doctorate in educational leadership from the University of Bridgeport. I am currently in the middle of my second year and will graduate not only with my EDD, but also with my 092. I do not know what I'm going to use it for or what to do, but I do know that I needed more education. I needed to also increase my potential to serve in education in different capacities. But it has been a wonderful journey so far, and I have learned a lot of ins and outs regarding the school system, and even being able to see that the literature and day-to-day practice has been really, really, really helpful for me.
Absolutely. I did my 092 at Sacred Heart, and it really helped me to have that lens for, just the school improvement plans and, the years and years that you have to plan for and have the flexibility to, when things don't work out, how do you pick back up and how do you make it happen every single day? Because the kids, just like you said earlier, they don't even know how to spell the word taxes. Right. So it should not be part of their curriculum, the woes of how to make it happen. Exactly. Charon, you are just absolutely amazing. I am forever grateful that you came onto the show. I look forward to watching you continue to grow and continue to be that role model that the community needs. And I can't wait until you get that doctorate and celebrate a little bit for yourself. Wherever you land, I just know it's going to be the right place, because you are going to make it the right place. So thank you so much for coming on to our show. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. It means the world for me to be here and to speak a little bit more and to think carefully. And a lot of what we talked about, I'm going to go home and think more about it, and then try to, share the joy. So this is another, stepping stone for me to continue to do just that, the joy work.
Absolutely. And that's it, Connecticut. Thank you so much for joining us. Until next time, this is Chaotic Joy.
For over 40 years, SCM
has been the voice of our town,
bringing us together through local programming,
education,
and live broadcasts.
SEM isn't just about television.
It's about empowering our community,
ensuring our voices are heard during government meetings,
and celebrating milestones
like our high school graduations.
But today, SEM faces a challenge.
Our funding structure is based on television subscriptions.
And it's no secret, people have been cutting the cord.
With a shift to internet-only subscriptions,
SEM receives less revenue,
even though all our programming is freely available online.
We need your support.
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 Your donation can make a difference.
It will ensure that SCM remains open,
continues to educate our youth,
and keeps our community informed.
Thanks to SEM, I've been honing my creative skills, helping me work towards my college degree.
SCM is crucial for keeping our community connected.
SCM isn't just here to broadcast local events. They're actually preserving Simsbury's history.
Join us.
Join us in preserving Simsbury's voice.
Simsbury's voice.
Together we can ensure that SCM continues to thrive
for generations to come.
Visit our website
Or scan the QR code on your screen to make your donation.
Every contribution
counts.
Thank you for supporting Simsbury Community Media,
where your town,
Your schools,
and your government
come together.